On the night of the 19th of December 2013, at Babadogo Estate in Nairobi, Martin Koome had an argument with his wife Penina, after which he threatened to leave with their 2-month-old baby. The wife, who had by then exhausted all the means to calm him down, alarmed the neighbors. But even with the neighbors' presence and intervention, Martin Koome still insisted on leaving. The neighbors called the police to come and mediate. After their arrival, the police took the couple to Ruaraka police station, and on reaching there, they tried to get Martin Koome to enter one of their cells, but he refused, since he had not committed any offense that would have resulted to his detention. The chilling events that took place afterwards can be described as a mixture of evil and wickedness. Welcome back to the Insight Edition. My name is Yusuf, and on today's episode of Criminal Diaries, we are going to look into the disturbing case of Kenya's most evil police boss. While Martin Koome was still refusing to enter the cell, his wife, who was at the reporting desk, started to hear the police getting physical with him. This prompted her to ask one of the officers if they were beating up her husband, and the officer said that they had to discipline him a bit until he agrees to enter the cell. Martin Koome was detained for the night. His wife, Penina, was advised to go home and come back the following morning. As the night grew on, the then officer commanding Ruaraka police station, Nahashon Mutua, got into the picture. The OCS was witnessed torturing Martin Koome seriously. The inmates who had witnessed his despicable action said that Nahashon Mutua struck Koome into a barrel that was full of water, and anytime he will try to lift up his head and gasp for breath, the OCS will hit it with a metal bar. Afterwards, he threw Koome into a crowded cell which had 17 other inmates. The wet, bleeding and badly wounded Martin Koome lay down on the dirty floor. It took several hours before he was rushed to the hospital together with Victor Kioko, another inmate who had been assaulted by the same officer. Together, they were taken to Ruaraka Uhainema Hospital, but Martin was later referred to Kenyatta National Hospital since he was in a very critical condition. When the morning finally came, Martin Koome's wife Penina and his sister Anne Manyara went to Ruaraka police station, as the wife had been advised on the previous night. On reaching there, they were shocked to be informed that Martin had been rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital. Still confused, they rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, they found Koome on a stretcher, his face swollen, and he had wounds and deep cuts. He couldn't speak. The records show that Koome died on the 20th of December 2013 at 8:30 p.m. He had succumbed to the injuries inflicted on him by the wicked OCS. It didn't take time before Nahashon Mutua learned about the death of Martin Koome, and as any other common criminal will do, he hatched an evil plot to cover up his crime. First, he rushed to Nema Hospital, where his other victim, Victor Kioko, was admitted, and he paid up all the bills. He didn't want Victor to talk about his assault. Next, he rushed back to his station, threatened and forced all the inmates who were present the night Koome had been detained and assaulted to sign a false report which was stating that Martin Koome had been in a fight with another inmate who assaulted him that night. The inmate who was to take this fall for him was Kevin Odhiambo. At the time, the official conclusion was Kevin Odhiambo was Martin Koome's killer, and he was charged with the murder. In the months that followed, Kevin Odhiambo stood trial for the murder of Martin Koome, a crime he knew very well he had no hand in, and worse, a crime he knew who the perpetrator was. Things were going according to the evil plot of Nahashon Mutua, but if he had thought for a second that he had evaded trouble, he couldn't be more wrong, as the nemesis that was about to befall him was one that children will be reading about in generations to come. Upon realizing the false accusations against Kevin Odhiambo, his mother and Martin Koome's sister approached International Justice Mission (IJM) and shared their story. In May 2014, IJM filed a complaint with Independent Policing Authority (IPOA) over the false accusations against Kevin Odhiambo. An investigation was conducted by the agency independently, and they concluded that Odhiambo had been framed. Kevin Odhiambo, who was at the time standing trial for a murder that he did not commit, was set free. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution filed murder charges against Nahashon Mutua immediately. Unsurprisingly, Nahashon Mutua started intimidating and threatening the witnesses who had recorded statements with IPOA. He also recanted the evidence which he had forced them to sign incriminating Kevin Odhiambo. Unlucky for him, the zeal of lawyers to prosecute the murder was unstoppable, and he was placed on his defense. Although the case took over 5 years, with Nahashon Mutua trying every means possible to go unpunished, at the end, he was found guilty of the murder of Martin Koome, and after a short while, he was sentenced to death. Lucky for him, in Kenya, death sentences are usually commuted to life imprisonment, according to a ruling by the country's Supreme Court. So, Nahashon Mutua, a man who goes down in the books of Kenyan history as the first high-ranking officer to be charged, convicted, and sentenced for the murder of an inmate, will spend the rest of his days in prison.